Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 42. We are going to spend the entire hour today talking about Nicki Minaj. Joining me, and I'm Andrew Eisen, of course, and joining me in the Nicki Minaj discussion is Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good now that we're spending an hour at least talking about Nicki Minaj. So I guess my first question for you would be, what is your favorite Nicki Minaj video?
Well, there is that one where she does the dance move. You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, the one where
And
she dances, sure.
yeah, and I think she
While
even
singing at the
sings.
same
Yeah,
time, right?
yeah, exactly. She
Yeah.
sings and dances at the same time in this one.
And has the
So
and she's on a set with backup dancers, and there's like choreography and stuff.
yeah, there are some in there.
Some
Yeah,
editing. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one. I like that one.
yeah, definitely.
So, I have to admit that my favorite, of course, we as you folks all know, we're completely joking. We're not going to talk about Nicki Minaj, although that would keep us to an hour because I don't think either of us could keep up a Nicki Minaj discussion at least for longer than a couple of
Yeah.
minutes. I do have two things I want to say on the subject though, while we're actually talking about her, and that's I could name literally one song by Nicki Minaj, and that's Anaconda, because it became mildly controversial a couple years ago. I guess just for overt sexuality, which is something she's known for, other than a kind of nasally voice. Um, which is funny because I heard her sing before I heard her speak, and I figured that was just an effect that she affected when she sang. And I saw her in an interview, and I'm like, oh, that's what she actually sounds like. Oh man, I'm sorry. um, which was interesting because I was at my mom's. I don't have TV. I have a
Mhm.
television, but I don't watch TV. I was at my mom's. They were watching some talk show, and Nicki Minaj was actually on the show, probably promoting Anaconda or something. And what I found most notable about this woman is she was spacey as all get out. I don't know if she had had a ton to drink or if this was like her sixth interview that day and she was just jet lagged and bog tired. But I was watching her. I'm like, wow, that woman, not only does she actually sound like that, but she's just not all there right now. Um, and then what happened was the next day, the news was on as eating cereal or whatever, and Nicki Minaj suffers a wardrobe malfunction on this show where her breast falls out of her jacket. And I'm like, I was watching that show last night. How did I miss that? It's not like Miss Minaj has subtle cleavage. I must have been so distracted by her voice and her kind of
Demeanor. Yeah.
her loopy presence in that interview that I completely missed her bosoms falling out of her jacket. And I was like, I mean, I didn't feel too bad about it. I do have internet access if I ever feel the urge to look at boobs. But I was like, how could I have possibly been watching that interview and not noticed that? And I talked to my mom and Tim, and they're like, you didn't notice that? I went, no. Because we were watching it live. So, and they're like, yeah, you didn't notice? I guess I shouldn't feel too bad because Nicki Minaj didn't notice either, apparently. She's just sitting there talking away.
I'm surprised that some stagehand didn't like jump up and whisper in her ear or something, because that's one of those things. Because it was ABC or Fox, whoever had the Super Bowl at the time when um, Janet Jackson had her
Uh-huh.
wardrobe malfunction. They got fined over that.
Yeah, well,
And
they probably cut away or reframed the shot. They were up here and then they're like, okay, yeah, that's better. I don't know. But where I was
yeah.
going with this is the Anaconda music video, which was one of the things I reacted to in my reaction video a couple of years ago. I saw a thing from College Humor, which was a parody of the Anaconda music video, which is called. I'll actually link to it in the chat because you folks are cool and should see this. Um, it's called Anaconda, the educational version, and it stars a cartoon Nicki Minaj as she talks about actual anacondas and what their sizes are and breeding habits and their scientific names, and it's really well done. The singer who stands in for Nicki Minaj nails the voice. It's
Yeah.
really well written. Let me also the
that makes me. Oh,
where is it? There she is.
Oh wow!
Look how adorable she is.
That's cool.
It the most adorable thing.
If anybody's done a parody of that video or that song based on the movie Anaconda.
Oh, that's point.
Yeah, it's just like, huh, now I've got to Google that and see if anybody's done it.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know if I'll ever get around to it. I only have a vague recognition of who Nicki Minaj is. I have not actually listened to any of her songs on purpose. And even if I have heard one of her songs, I probably have no clue that it was her song. But,
yeah. Being in the gym, I've probably heard I'm sure I have a very distinct voice that woman has, but not really my style of music. So, but I do like that Anaconda parody thing. It's really funny.
So apparently, Matthew sent Andre a tweet, and he would like to hear what we think about it.
Well, it's something I actually saw earlier in the week. Apparently, someone's daughter got in trouble at school, and the form that explains what happened says another student took her pencil and she referred to him as a Hanzo main. I have no idea what that means. However, it was clearly meant as an insult.
Yeah.
You bet your ass it was. That's an Overwatch joke for anyone who doesn't. I don't even play Overwatch, and I know that. Hanzo is the one of the Overwatch characters.
Yeah, he's the guy that uses the bow and arrow.
Yeah, and apparently he's, at least at one point, was severely overpowered, and people get really ticked off when you use them. You're cheating. Use someone else. I don't know, but I have no idea how old this kid's supposed to be. But I hope she's like 4th grade or something. Oh yeah, like, give me my pencil back, you Hanzo main.
Yeah. So. That's good. I'm glad modern video games are seeping into the vernacular of the rising generation, and even older games too are making that subtle change thanks to parents like myself and others my age that have kids my age, or the age of my kids, because we're slowly building all that up, and it's going to be a great generation once we're done with them.
Matthew, you think she's 11 or something? That would be around 4th or 5th grade, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, 11 would be 5th grade. Yeah.
Troy asks, "Did Andrew come out as gay?" Not in this podcast. I mean, we've only been going for like 15 minutes. Haven't been much time, but so no, you haven't missed much. Although I do have a kind of a funny story about that. I was. Let's see. Something you have to know about singers, especially barbershop singers, is we like to, especially when we work in groups, either in quartets or choruses. We'll have rehearsals at night, and then after we're done rehearsing, we usually go out to eat. And then after we're done eating, we usually go stand in parking lots and keep singing until like 1 or 2 in the morning. That's just how we are. So we were standing outside of BJ's Brewery, I believe, in La Jolla. and we're singing tags, and it's not too late at night. It's probably only like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and someone walks past us while we're working on singing a tag or something, and I commented, I say that bag does not go with those shoes. And Matt, who was it? Mark. He goes, "Oh man, you are so totally gay." I said, "Why?" Because I said that bag doesn't match those shoes. They don't. And he says, "You're right. That bag does not match those shoes, but you're still gay for pointing it out." I said, "Well, all right." Just so we're clear that bag does not go with those shoes. He goes, "Oh, absolutely it doesn't." I'm like, "Okay, I'm glad we're clear on this point." So,
yeah, nice.
there's my funny. I actually have several gay stories. Remind me, maybe I'll get into some more of them next week. You expected something like that from me today because of April Fool's Day, or well, the April. I'm one of the ones who likes April Fool's Day. I like silly jokes and weird things. And the problem with April Fool's Day is it's on April 1st, which means I will never remember it until April 1st, because prior to that, it's not April. So see, Christmas I would never remember Christmas if it was December 1st, but Christmas is December 25th, so I've got like 25 days to, oh crap, December, Christmas, gotta get my stuff together. But hard for me to remember stuff, like, which is why it's difficult for me to remember to pay my rent, because I have to pay my rent on the 1st, and it's like not until the 3rd of the month until I realize, oh, we're in a new month now. So luckily the 1st is landed on a Saturday.
But I do think it's time for confession, because I think we've been doing this podcast for what, 4 years now,
including
something
Super Podcast Action Committee. Yeah, at least.
Yeah, and all this time, I've talked about my family, my wife, my 6 kids, all that. But it's time for the truth to come out. I'm not actually married, and I don't have kids. The kid and the wife you saw in previous episodes, just hired props. They're just secondary cast members in this show that I call life. It's just, it's like I find my life to be so empty and meaningless that I've constructed this reality around this idea that I have a family and people rely on me, and I've been seeing a therapist for like the past 7 months, and he recommended that I publicly make this confession to help clear my mind and come to terms with my condition.
You see, I suffer from the same condition, but I just drown it in alcohol and video game cookies.
Yeah, see, but, we all have our problems.
Yeah, I guess it's better than breaking into some other family's house and sneaking into their closet to stream a podcast.
Yeah.
Get out of her house! Only 45 minutes left. I'll be doing we're talking about superhero stuff. It's important. This is important. So. Okay, so the first topic that we're going to discuss today is a very, very serious thing, and it's something that Zachary suggested to me because he has a lot more class than I do, and he suggested that we take a moment of silence for Mad Catz. Mad Catz, the hardware peripheral maker, has gone Chapter 7 bankruptcy as of Thursday. And that's different from Chapter 11. Chapter 7 is basically, we are done. It is completely over.
We're dead. We are getting rid of everything we own in order to pay off whatever we can, and then everybody else is screwed.
Yeah. So quick moment of silence for Mad Catz. We're gonna miss you.
Sort of.
I don't know if I ever bought any of Mad Catz stuff, but
I've had a few of theirs in the past, and they have all been crap. Um, I got a used GameCube, and it only came with one official controller, and one was but it came with three others. One was a GameStop third-party controller, which is crap. Two of them were Spider-Man themed. One was Spider-Man, the other one was Venom. And I don't remember what brand those were. And then the other one was Mad Catz, and the Mad Catz one was just completely crap. So that makes 4 third-party controllers. But yeah, the Mad Catz one was it's like none of the joysticks worked properly, and the button layout was terrible, and so. But yeah.
Being asked,
Nyko is a very good third-party controller maker. They make a lot of their
I actually have one of their Wii remote controller chargers, which worked very well throughout the entire Wii's life. It doesn't actually charge anymore. Either that or my rechargeable battery packs are all dead. One of the two. So I just the few times I go back and play Wii, I just put in regular AA batteries.
Yeah, we usually do. We've moved past those and just buy Energizer rechargeable AA's and just recharge those when we need them. It seems to be the best method of supplying batteries for all our various controllers that don't have built-in battery packs.
Yeah. Zachary's connection sounds and looks really poor. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does, and unfortunately, it's a problem with the internet connection I have. I have a slow internet connection speed. It's 15 down and only 2.5 up, and then the only place where it's like I have a lot of things that need connected to the Wi-Fi router, but the house, for some reason, has a Faraday cage built into the middle of it. And so it completely screws up the Wi-Fi connection. And so where my office is and where the router is, there's a lot of interference because of the walls and stuff in the way. And it's like if the place it is the best I can get, because I've tried the router in several other places, but it's like I can get a really good signal for my office, but absolutely nothing in the living room with the TV and video game systems, or I can get a somewhat reasonable connection in my office and a decent connection in the living room. So, I'm kind of stuck with that.
Well, you work with what you got. And Laxer points out that Mad Catz was spelled with a Z.
Yeah.
Which, in some way, not to judge a book by its cover, but you might be able to draw a few conclusions.
Well, it's like it's using Z's instead of S's, or letters
90s.
instead of words, or numbers instead of letters. Those are all surefire signs that something's not going to be quiet, as we can see from the Fan Four Stick movie. So.
Laxter, his actor family are method actors, so they're all using the Wi-Fi. They're not just standing there; they're working.
Yeah.
So, all right. Moving on to a new topic. Oh, by the way, Mad Catz, I believe co-published Rock Band 4 is one.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
And that didn't go too. That was that was when everyone was like, okay, we have enough plastic crap in our houses, so no more.
Yeah, okay. See, and that partnership probably would have worked out better if they got in at the beginning of the Rock Band craze, but not so much at the tail end.
Okay, so our next topic is going to talk about PETA or PETA. I've never known people for the ethical treatment of animals. PETA, like the bread?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I say PETA like the bread, but if it's PETA, that kind of makes sense in the fact that they're an animal agency, but it also sounds a little too much like pedophile. And
somehow I never actually thought about that. At least they don't have a, hey, PETA, why don't you get yourself a cartoon mascot, maybe a bear? You could call the PETA bear. Might run it. I don't know. Is Pedo Bear copyrighted by anyone? I don't know if that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Okay, that was a stretch. Anyway, okay, so Nintendo Switch. One of its games is 1-2 Switch, which is the minigame collection that shows off the Joy-Con and its various uses. One of the most notable games in it is Milk, which is a game where you pantomime milking a cow. And you stare at each other in the face and make this motion in front of each other and try not to laugh. So that's the entire game. You pantomime milking a cow, and whoever milks the most.
From my understanding, it's a dual motion game where you've got to actually squeeze the remote, where you hit the left and the right trigger buttons,
right?
And you move down at the same time. So you got to get the good rhythm between both of those motions in order to successfully draw milk.
Right. Now, just to be clear, if you're ever moving your hand that far, you're milking the cow wrong and probably hurting her. So don't do that. But anyway,
it's a gentle motion. You squeeze from the top down, and you just tug just a little, and because you don't want to yank, because that's going to hurt.
Exactly.
It's like pinching your nipples. It's a purple nurple is you don't want to give the cow a purple nurple.
Nick, you missed the entire Nicki Minaj discussion, but it was brilliant. So definitely catch the show when it when it's uploaded to my channel later. So who was it? So the Billings Farm and Museum wrote a letter to Nintendo. Said, "Dear Nintendo, we're one of New England's premier living history museums. We're writing because our farm staff recently saw the cow milking game for Nintendo Switch and decided that they've taken all the challenge out of milking. We have 30 prize-winning Jersey milking cows that we milk twice a day, and it is never that easy. We also think you guys look pretty slow. To this end, we'd like to set up some sort of challenge to pit our team against yours to see who can milk the fastest. If you accept, let us know, and we can work out the details. The question is your team brave enough?" Well, Nintendo said, sure. And they did. And they set out a press release with pictures, and they didn't say who won. It's just I know, it was just a promotional thing, but it was cute.
Oh, come on, yeah, that is fun. It's always nice when companies actually do fun stuff like that, which was kind of sad, especially when Notch had challenged ZeniMax, that's right, to a game of Doom Quake. To determine the scrolls,
the
trademark dispute. And they didn't take him up on that offer. It's like, seriously? That would have been money in the bank. You could have charged money for tickets.
So PETA also reached out to Nintendo this week about the milk minigame in 1-2 Switch. PETA, as you remember, sometimes, on occasion, gets a bug up its butt about how animals are depicted in various video games. It took issue with some rat knifing in one at Call of Duty or Battlefield, one of the war games. Who can tell them apart? They're all the same. There's a sequence in one of the games where you're crawling through a tunnel and there's a rat in front of you and you knife it and move it out of the way, and they're like, everyone else was like, no, the airport massacre scene is terrible. Like, PETA's like, the poor rat. That might have been different games, but they had a horrible problem with Cooking Mama and made a video game about Cooking Mama butchering a turkey. They had one that Mario kills animals, and everyone was like, what? And they're like, you see the raccoon, the Tanuki suit? Mario skinned a Tanuki alive, just like poachers over somewhere to actually do in real life. It's like, he touched a magic leaf. What are you talking about? I mean, it's not the turtle stomping, it's the cosplay outfit. He's obviously wearing a costume, not an actual
not fursuit. And my favorite response to a PETA complaint was with the creators of Super Meat Boy, and they added Tofu Man to to their game, and he was incredibly slow and got worse as the game went on.
Yeah. So PETA obviously takes umbrage and will condemn any game that depicts cruelty to animals. So here is the letter, and I'm going to read the entire thing because it's wonderful. So here's the letter that PETA wrote to Nintendo. Very serious.
It's only 4 paragraphs, guys. So,
dear Nintendo, I'm writing on behalf of the people for the ethical treatment of animals, PETA, and our more than 5 million members and supporters worldwide. There's 7 billion people in the world and only 5 million care about animals. All right. Our staffers and activists have recently played the cow milking minigame for Nintendo Switch, so they're better than the farm place. They've actually played it instead of watching it. All right. We've actually played the cow milking minigame for Nintendo Switch and realized that you've taken all the cruelty out of milking. Odd complaint from PETA. We have more than 35 years of experience investigating dairy farms where cows are exploited for their milk, and it is never that pleasant for these animals. Can we have some realism here, please? Following the announcement that you've accepted Billings Farm and Museum's challenge, we're hoping you'll listen to some of our feedback as well. To simulate cow milking accurately, 1-2 Switch would need to show all aspects of dairy farming, including the violent insemination of female cows and what the dairy industry itself refers to as a rape rack. Cows produce milk to feed their babies, but their young are torn away from them as soon after birth so that human beings can use their milk instead. A mother cow will bellow for her calf for days after the baby is taken from her. Perhaps you could add these sounds to your game in order to remind players that by drinking milk, people support an industry that separates mothers from their babies. We'd be happy to provide you with video footage of the filthy conditions that cows endure on farms for you to include in your game. If you think that the gruesome nature of this would be the gruesome nature of this would be too upsetting, we suggest that instead of sugarcoating the subject, Nintendo switch to simulating activities in which no animals suffer. For example, an almond milk minigame in which you pick almonds could be quite fun. Is your team brave enough to face the truth? Very truly yours, Ingrid. What's her face and President of PETA.
Okay, so a couple of things here. When I first read this letter and I got all the way down to that almond game, it's like I started reading it and I expected them to say a game where an almond milk mini game in which you grab the almonds by the tiny udders and squeeze the milk out of them.
That's how you milk an almond.
Just a little side note here. I was just reminded of an episode of The Simpsons where Fat Tony was providing milk to the Springfield Elementary, and he was getting it from rats. And he had rats in cages along this entire warehouse with little milking machines attached to their nipples, and it was a great episode. I love that one.
We have a doubter in the chat.
Yes, Laxter, they do emphasize switch. They put it in italics.
Yep. So. Yeah, so that wasn't me doing it. That it's actually emphasized.
Yeah, they were playing switch. Off the whole switch thing from their announcement.
Yeah. Nick says there's no way they wrote that. That's insane. I put a link from their Facebook page. This is from their Facebook page.
Yeah.
This isn't an April Fool's Day. It's also for March 30th.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is crazy. Seriously, it's like can you imagine if Nintendo had actually released a milking game in which they had all of that realistic detail in there without PETA's prompting? PETA would have been writing a letter saying, "How dare you treat cows so horribly in this game?"
Yeah, it's interesting that PETA has a problem with the depiction of animal cruelty and the absence of the depiction of animal cruelty. I can only assume that they just want video games to never have animals or anything that could ever even reference them in video games ever.
Yeah.
Which is not going to happen. In all seriousness, the idea, I think PETA is a terrible organization that is run horribly.
Yeah.
I do believe in the ethical treatment of animals, however. I think their mission statement is good. I think they go about it completely the wrong way. I don't think making... When you release a statement to this many people, and this many people think you're an obnoxious asshole, you probably want to go back to the drawing board, because you're not reaching everyone you could. Your message isn't getting out there. And their message about reforming the cow milking industry so that it's more ethical, good message. This is the wrong way to go about it, however. I think there is value in using current, relevant pop culture touchstones and piggybacking on them to get your political message across. And using the milking mini game in 1-2 Switch, which is a current popular hot news item, is an intelligent thing to do to steer the a discussion that's already happening just over here a little bit to what you want to talk about. But I don't think doing it in the way they repeatedly do it is the right way, because again, a lot of people just think you're being an obnoxious twerp. I think if PETA, for example, the Mario kills animals thing, they were actually trying to spotlight an issue of not tapir. Why am I thinking tapirs? Tanuki. Tanuki poaching and skinning, which is a problem in some country somewhere. I might know more if I were more interested, if I weren't completely turned off by the way PETA constantly packages this stuff.
Tanukis are actual animals in Japan.
Yes.
They're the Japanese equivalent of a raccoon.
Right. So very similar to that. I think if PETA approached it more from a perspective of, hey, you guys all enjoying the milking minigame in Nintendo Switch? Great, that's cool. Let's take this opportunity to talk about how cow milking can actually manifest itself in some particularly egregiously unethical ways in the industry today, rather than, you know, demonizing everyone else and just being a pompous putz about it. I also think PETA's ideas of making video games is, I think they're on the right track there, except they shoot themselves in the foot constantly. Video games can be a great way to make a political statement or examine a certain thing. I mean, I think PETA would do a lot of good teaming with some development group to actually try and make a game that either just is simply a political statement on this, you know, just depicts it. It's like, oh, I had no idea it happens like that. Or even go hog wild and try and make a full farming management sim in which the options are everything from you know, completely ethical ways to milk cows to the unethical ways to milk cows, and explaining how it works in the industry and engaging the gamer to
unethical ways to milk cows. Take a knife, cut open the side of their udders, and let the milk pour right out. Pour right out.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of developers that would absolutely jump at the chance to make a farming management sim that depicted some of these issues in an interesting, engaging, and educational way. We already have a ton of games that do that for a bunch of other subjects. So I just think PETA is continually missing the boat and making itself look like a putz. And again, shooting itself in the foot, not getting its message out to the people who it would hope would hear it. I mean, because as I've seen in the chat, several people in the chat have said no one takes PETA seriously, and that's
and I think
widely true.
The problem I think here is that, you know, PETA is staffed with by a bunch of people who are very passionate about what they do, about what their goal. But the thing is, none of them have any sort of business or PR sense. And that's the problem. You know, if you had run this letter by a professional marketer or PR firm, they would have scrapped it and started over.
Yeah, they would have
Because
said,
this
no,
thing, yeah,
this just makes you look bad.
yeah, exactly. And they would have written something like, as you had suggested, saying, this, if you like this game, check out what's really happening in real life. That would have been more successful. But yeah,
games games are not always almost never an accurate portrayal of actual things, but they can potentially be a wonderful gateway to learning about other things, which is kind of a shame why 6 Days in Fallujah never came out, because
yes,
that may have inspired a lot of people to actually look up what was actually going on over there. Now
yeah,
a lot of people in our circles only know Fallujah by, oh, that's that video game that never came out, which is kind of a shame.
which is very unfortunate.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people who've played Final Fantasy and other games and have looked up references that they found in a game and learned more about it through topics and things that were introduced in video games.
Yeah, I learned back in the day, I used to play all kinds of point-and-click adventure games, and one of the reasons was because I loved the clever humor in them stuff. And I can't tell you how many LucasArts point-and-click adventures had me reaching for the dictionary to look up words, because they used a lot of words that I was unfamiliar with, and I expanded my vocabulary playing those games, and other games too. Where so like Final Fantasy, I've looked up a lot of mythology because of the summons and other characters in the Final Fantasy series, and so really good. Really good ways to learn based off of video games, and unfortunately we don't do that. But you brought up 6 Days in Fallujah, and to me, I think part of the problem was that particular game did not fit into the mold of the propaganda-esque games, military shooters that are out, where most military shooters are propagandized to lift up U.S. or European soldiers as the hero, and then had clear enemies. Where with 6 Days in Fallujah, the idea behind the game was that it wasn't a propaganda game. It was a game to critically give you to turn a critical eye to war and question why we're over there, and that just did not fit the marketing ideas of major AAA studios.
Yeah, there's a shooter game, something The Line, that does a lot of actual commentary on shooter games. Actually, it's very meta from what I understand. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Matthew actually brings up a very good example of the kind of game I was talking about, Prison Architect, which is a prison sim where you build a prison and you have to decide how you corral all your prisoners. You could just lock them all down in solitary confinement, makes them all unhappy, but if they never get to leave their cells, as long as you feed them and keep them alive, you may. I mean, that's terrible and unethical, but you have to balance the money that comes in with how much it costs to build stuff, with prison riots. So you have to balance the safety of the prisoners, the people you employ to manage the prison. You have to balance that with the budget you're given to do all this stuff, and the ethical treatment of human beings. And there's a lot of discussions and commentary that's baked into that subject that are explored through the gameplay. And I imagine that type of system, but with a farming sim where you could examine and learn about cow milking and some other mass farm practices and stuff like that. Look into it, PETA. Do something that doesn't make you look like a dipstick.
Exactly. Yes.
And get a fun cartoon mascot.
Preferably an animal that wears the fur of other animals. No,
Pet a bear.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to a new topic. Oh, this is a good one. So, dipping into our political roots here. In the Obama administration, in the latter parts of it, there was a FCC rule introduced that would force internet service providers to they couldn't sell your metadata and browser history and things like that unless you opted in to allowing them to do so. So it wasn't a matter of you have to give your customers the ability to opt out. No, no, no. They're out by default. You have to give them ability to opt in. Now, that actually never went into effect, and it's not going to.
Rule, and it had to be approved by Congress before it could go into effect, or something along those lines.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, the House and Senate just voted along party lines to not do that anymore.
And it was, and it wasn't just party lines. It was barely a majority. In fact, if you take in all members of the House,
mm-hmm.
the winning vote was actually less than a majority, but because specific rules don't count certain people if they're actually not there. That you have to be in the room in order to be counted as not voting. Otherwise, you're just not there. And so they managed to get that majority vote, even though less than a majority of people actually voted in favor of it. But
I wonder if I'm
kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm mixing up so many things being voted on. I may be mixing up.
Well, it was party lines, like, because not a single Democrat or independent voted in favor of revoking that rule.
That's true. I'm pretty sure unless I read the wrong story, all Democrats who voted no. And all but, I believe, 15 Republicans who voted yes.
Yeah, so, it was something like that. It was, there were some Republicans on the House side that didn't vote for it, but not a single Republican voted against it in the Senate, I believe.
So so this is going to the president's desk, who pretty much will sign anything you put in front of him. So yeah, that I'm sure. This is nice, but we could talk about why would anyone think this is a good idea, and there's some interesting arguments. They're all stupid, but there are some interesting arguments. But what I want to talk about is the reaction of Cards Against Humanity, the card game which I bought my mom and her husband, and we played it. It was a lot of fun. So Max Temkin, the guy who I guess is the main dude behind Cards Against Humanity, tweeted earlier this week, before it was actually passed by the House, said, "If this shit passes, I will buy the browser history of every congressman and congressional aide and publish it," and CC'd House Speaker Paul Ryan on that. And again, what this does is undoes the what they're voting on was undoing the internet privacy protections that the FCC approved fairly recently, which required ISPs to ask customer permissions before collecting and sharing data, web browsing history, app usage, geolocation, stuff like that. So just as a concept, and now there's a lot of argument as to, would Max be actually able to do that? And the answer is almost certainly no.
No,
but just as a thing, what's your immediate reaction to that tweet?
Well, I think it is a I'm trying to think of the word now. But it's a reaction to be expected. It is something that people do have this kind of reaction to decisions that Congress has made. Mm-hmm. Take recent votes and stuff on healthcare, where people are trying. They start up petitions that say, well, Congress should be subject to any healthcare plan they they give the American people. They should have the exact same health care plan. And that happens with a lot of issues, especially when it's something that's a very personal issue, such as this, where it feels like you personally are being betrayed by Congress, and you want to lash out at them. And so it is perfectly acceptable and to react in that manner. Now, whether you could actually act upon that is a totally different story.
Yeah. Max goes on to say, if and when any data becomes available, myself and Cards Against Humanity will do whatever we can to acquire and publish it. We have a long track record of activism and spending around government transparency issues. This may take a long time. We may have to file FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests. We may have to buy browsing data for congressional office building zip codes and then p-hack our way into statistical significance in an attempt to fish spurious correlations out of unreliable data sets, but we've done that before. Our basic human rights, like the right to privacy, are being sold to the highest bidder, while the best minds of our generation here on Reddit asking programmers if they want to fight a horse-sized duck or whatever. I think that came from the Gorsuch hearing. Is that his name? Gorsuch?
I don't
think
know.
So. The Supreme Court confirmation hearings, which there's so much weird crap from there. I have trouble remembering exactly what that was about. But I remember him being just as confused as everyone else with the horse-sized duck or duck-sized horse. What? I think we should all adjourn. We're all really tired now. Max also has said he'll match up to $10,000 for donations to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who's a digital privacy advocacy group. And he points out that buying Congress's data is purely symbolic. So, donate to EFF and actually make a material difference. So, I just thought that was an interesting reaction to this news. Which
and just to help inform the viewers out there, Tech Dirt, the very popular technology and politics website, published an article written by Mike Masnick, the owner of Tech Dirt, and in which he basically says that there's no way you could actually buy Congress's internet browsing history. Says, but here's the problem. You can't buy Congress's internet data. You can't buy my internet data. You can't buy your internet data. That's not how this works. It's a common misconception. We even saw this in Congress 4 years ago when Rep. Louis Gohmert went on a smug but totally ignorant rant asking why Google won't sell the government all the data it has on people. As we explained at the time, that's not how it works. And it says advertisers aren't buying your browsing data, and ISPs and other internet companies aren't selling your data in a neat little package. It doesn't help anyway. And then he goes on to explain how it's what actually goes on. He says, let's see, what happens is a website or an advertising agency puts out bids on what ads they're going to buy and display, and then computer algorithms say, okay, well, this group or this area sees a lot of traffic revolving around this topic, so we're going to create ads that go to about related to that topic to this area of the country or the world, and that's what's going on. It's like nobody's going to your house and saying, okay, Andrew Eisen likes to look up how to make semen or fake semen, so we're going to show him lots of semen related advertising in his browser. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
However, there is a lot of data that can, it's not exactly your browsing history, but they can get a lot of information that can reveal a lot about you. And
and that's something the government already has. The NSA keeps track of pretty much all of that metadata with your phone and your email account, and which is really frustrating, and which the government shouldn't have to begin with.
Right.
But that's not at all not really the same with how this browsing metadata works, because it doesn't actually get sold off piecemeal.
Right.
But
So, Mixtape Troy is asking, so what effectively is happening? Well, nothing is effectively happening because
yeah, technically
the
nothing
law
has
never went into effect in the
yeah,
first place.
exactly. Nothing is changing because nothing ever changed to begin with.
Right.
What Congress did is basically said, no, the FCC is not going to put this rule into effect.
Right. What they
And
wanted
which
to
is par
happen.
for the course. Yeah.
Right, exactly. What they wanted to happen was they introduced a rule, which again had not yet gone into effect, that the FCC would require internet service providers to have their customers opt in to a data sharing program. Uh, they weren't they didn't do it by default. They had to opt in first. So you had to ask them, is it okay if we share your data for this and that and the other thing? And you have to say yes before they do it.
Yeah.
That was what was going to happen. That is now no longer
Yeah. It's
going
like if you,
now they can do it whether you want it or not.
Yeah, like for anybody that's installed a brand new browser like Firefox or Chrome, when you
Mhm.
first load it up, you get a prompt that says, Chrome likes to collect performance data from individuals' computers to help us
Mhm.
better debug the browser and make it better for everyone. And they explain that this data is kept completely anonymous. Nobody knows who you are, what you're doing. It's just it keeps track of RAM and CPU usage and
Mhm.
crashes and all that stuff. And it says, do you want to participate? And you either click
Say
yes or
yes or
click
no.
no.
Right.
And that's essentially what that rule would have required when you first sign up for your internet service, is
Yep.
that, do you want to participate in this marketing program, I guess is what you would really call it.
Mhm. So, all right. It's actually Laxer is talking about I get specific ads from Google based on specific searches and stuff I've done though. That's true,
And
but there's a
yeah,
difference between companies like Google and internet service providers. Now, I know
yeah.
people in Congress arguing about this constantly conflate the two companies, but they're really two different things. But
Yeah, see, the thing with Google though is Google runs a search engine and also an advertising service, and
yeah,
the advertising service provides ads to users based on what sites they've been to that have those same Google ads on them, and the search history, and so they start to tailor ads for you based on what you've searched and clicked in the search engine, and what websites you've been to that have the Google ad trackers on them. And so like if you go to randomtower.com, where this is hosted, my site has Google Ads on there, so it's going to create a Google Ad Tracker cookie. And it's going to say, you've been to Random Tower, you read an article about the NES Classic, and because you did that, it's going to it's going to start feeding other Google ads that you're interested in the NES Classic Edition, and you might get Amazon ads based on that or something.
yeah.
So
Troy
that's
says,
how Google works.
yeah, Troy says, oh, so Comcast and Time Warner and their ilk lobbied for this.
Oh
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
yes
the,
they
the, the
did.
telecom industry are huge lobbyists. In fact, I think it
Yeah,
was
and
Verge or someone who had a list of how much donate the dollar total of donations each congressperson who voted for this got donated from the telecom industries, and that includes the telecom companies as a whole and individuals who work for it. But every single one of them, it ranges from like $10,000 up to
I think somebody was actually just a few hundred. I think I didn't actually verify it, but I'm pretty sure somebody that voted in favor of that had only received like $300 from the or something like that, just a few $100
for pocket change.
Yeah, exactly, and which is kind of crazy, but yeah.
But I mean, you know, it just seems like, you know, if you want to sell my data, ask first. I mean, that just seems like a nice thing to do, you know. But that's not fair to. There's always these weird arguments about, well, that's not fair to the telecom industry. We want to that hampers their innovation and ability to grow and innovate in growing ways that innovate.
Yeah,
like what?
Well, it's like if you really want the telecommunications industry to grow and innovate, you would end all regulations that create effective monopolies, regional monopolies. Because if they had to actually compete for their customers, you know, you would be getting the minimum speed that you would be offered would be like 100 megabytes per second down and 50 up, if they actually had to compete. But no, they don't have to compete, so I'm stuck with crappy 15 down and 2.5 up, and which is terrible. And you know, I'm used to, like, I think my last house was 50 down and 15 up, something like that. But yeah.
All right, moving on.
Just one final note on that. Sure, the entire Oklahoma's entire slate voted in favor of this. All 5 representatives and both senators voted in favor of revoking that rule. I didn't look extensively, but I noticed that most states had at least a split in Congress, in the House of Representatives, even if they didn't have a split in the Senate. But yeah, it was just really frustrating that Oklahoma is one of the handful of states that the entire slate voted in favor of revoking that rule. So, yeah.
Okay, move. And I think Matthew pointed out earlier, it was Spec Ops: The Line is the game I was referring to. Thank you. All right, moving on. So Twitter harassment, lots of fun stuff. So as a lot of you may know, that when you, at least for the past like 7 or 8 years, when you create a Twitter account, your default user icon image is an egg, because Twitter is a tweet, which is the sound that birds make, and they come from eggs. So your new account is an egg that hatches into a beautiful bird that's blue and flies off and makes noise. So there are a lot of unscrupulous turds who use the internet who will make new Twitter accounts specifically to harass other people on Twitter. It's not nice. And so people who get harassed on Twitter often complain about the eggs, because it's getting harassed by a bunch of eggs again. Again, people who are just creating new accounts to harass people because they keep getting blocked. So Twitter has finally decided to address this issue of people being harassed by eggs. How are they addressing this issue? They changed the icon to something other than an egg. No more egg problem now, because there's no egg. Oh my God, Twitter's as dense as a black hole. So here is, so in a blog post called Rethinking Our Default Profile Photo, one of the things Twitter says is, we've noticed patterns of behavior with accounts that are created only to harass others. Often they don't take the time to personalize their accounts. This has created an association between the default egg profile photo and negative behavior, which isn't fair to people who are still new to Twitter and haven't yet personalized their profile photo. Really, Twitter? Not all eggs? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, why is Twitter so bad at this?
I don't know. I makes you wonder if they actually have any women working for them. Because you would think if they had some women working for them, they would get slapped around a few times a day. It's like, stop things in response to women getting harassed on Twitter. It's like,
Yeah, it's like I guess the if you want to call it the harassment community or whatever. I imagine like, well, the egg's gone. I guess we just pack up our bags and leave. Can't harass people without the egg now. Yeah, and to be clear, changing the profile photo in and of itself is not a problem, but the fact that they even addressed uh, it it indicates that they genuinely do not understand what the problem is. First of all, I'm terribly annoyed by the whole that's not fair to people who aren't harassed, to new Twitter accounts who aren't. And it's like, you make my head hurt, Twitter.
It's like, but here's the thing though with that is that new Twitter users don't typically go on harassment binges against people if they're new to Twitter. It's usually only those harassment jerks who aren't new to Twitter. They're just using a fake account. It's like when I look at my account and I see somebody followed me and it doesn't have a profile pic. Okay, I'm like, I wonder who this is, and I click and I see, they haven't tweeted anything, so they're obviously new and they're just trying to expand their followers. But it's like, that's, to me, that's not a big deal, and I doubt people like Anita Sarkeesian or Brianna Wu, freak out and block everybody that has the egg Twitter account or Twitter profile picture when they follow them. It's like I doubt they do that. They wait until that blank profile starts harassing them before they click the block button.
Get in the chat makes a very astute points, very Marie Antoinette of them. We don't have bread. Cake it is. Problem solved. Oh, you dense person.
Yeah.
All right. So that was fun. All right, one more. We're past the hour, but I'm not on call this week, so we can keep going. All right. Yay! So let's talk about Warner Brothers because they had a fun bit of damage control this week.
Yeah.
So LEGO City Undercover, a Wii U exclusive from about 4 years back. Wonderful game. I really like it. Is coming to the Switch.
Yay!
And the PS4 and the Xbox One, I believe PC also. So it's coming to everything. Which, my hair is amazing. Look what my hair can do. Watch this. Nice. I've never had long hair. This is fun.
My hair, when it gets long, I don't like. I try to keep my hair short, and I'm sure you guys have seen this on podcasts in the past where I get these nice little tufts underneath my hat. That's my hair trying to return to its curly, wavy, natural state. I've got my mom's hair. My mom, she wears her hair long, and she's got these big, thick curls in her hair, and I have those exact same curls if I grow out my hair, which looks kind of funny when you've also got a little bald spot on the back of your head. But yeah, so I try to keep my hair short so that I don't have the little puffiness on the sides of my head and all that.
Yeah. So people got their hands on the actual retail box for LEGO City Undercover, and they noticed on the back that it says up to 13 gigabytes of storage required for game download. Storage requirements may change. Visit LEGO blah blah blah. Maybe get an SD card to expand storage. 13 gig storage required for game download for the retail copy of the game. That includes the actual physical disc. So what it reads like is, wait a minute. I put the disc, or rather the card, in my Switch, and I still have to download 13 gigs worth of data to play the game. And they looked on the eShop and they're like, wait a minute, the game's only 7 gigs.
Well, you
I
can
mean,
even
yeah.
you can even look at it this way too. It's like it was on the Wii U. The Wii U used dual layer
Optical discs,
DVDs.
yeah.
Yeah, and a dual layer DVD can't hold any more than 9 gigs of data on it.
Right.
So it's like it was on one disc. So there's no way there's 13 extra gigs that you have to download.
Right. So conspiracy theories started percolating. See, people started thinking, okay, well, why might this be? We've seen games like Rhyme and Minecraft Adventure Mode, the complete adventure, whatever it's called, the Telltale story.
Yeah,
Story mode, Minecraft story mode, the complete adventure. Yeah. That's what it's called. Both these games are coming. They're going to be $10 more on Switch, and what the word seems to be, it's like, well, cartridges are more expensive. So what some had theorized is, well, wait a minute, are they bilking us by giving us basically a card that's nothing more than a download key for the game? So we go to retail and we buy a card, and all that card does is go to the eShop and download the game. That's scummy. So everyone reached out to Warner Brothers saying, WTF, mate. And Warner Brothers said, players who purchase LEGO City Undercover on Nintendo Switch at retail do not need to download the game to play. Short, sweet, to the point, okay. I guess that was a misprint. And that probably would have been fine. Okay, we don't need to download anything to play. It's weird that that's on the back of the box, but whatever, let's get on with our lives. But Warner was not done yet. They issued a second statement which said, players who purchase LEGO City Undercover on Nintendo Switch at retail do not need to download the game to play. All players who purchase the game can download the small content update patch with an internet connection. And then everyone went, whoa, 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 wait, what? Wait, is it small content update? Well, is this required? 13 gigs is not small. I've only got 32 in the system, and I can't use part of that because of the OS. I think we only have access to like 25 or something like that. That's most of the system. So,
yeah. And also, it wasn't addressed directly, but on the front of the LEGO City Undercover, it's in very small letters at the bottom, it says internet required, which makes it sound like you're going to have a constant internet connection to play this game. And I believe that they also made a correction on that as well. So the only internet connection suggested is to download the typical content update patch. So, or it's not, the internet connection is not required. And I have been corrected by both Laxter and Scotty J-Man that the Wii U does not have dual layer DVDs. It's actually a proprietary high capacity disc.
Right. It's not a Blu-ray, but it was about the same size, I believe.
About half. Scotty J says it's 26 gigs.
Which is about it. Well, a dual layer Blu-ray can be 50, right?
Yeah, a dual layer Blu-ray is 50.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So Warner let out a third statement, which says the information is listed incorrectly on the packaging of LEGO City Undercover for Nintendo Switch. Players who purchase a physical copy of LEGO City Undercover on Nintendo Switch at retail are getting the complete game and do not need to download additional content to enjoy the full experience. An internet connection is not required to play the game. The only internet connection suggested is to download the typical content update patch. We would like to know what the hell that actually is, but what it sounds like, I don't know how this happened.
It's probably just some patching and maybe like some extra, small little extra outfits or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That may be something to help with the loading times, which are still terrible. I mean, LEGO City Undercover has some of the worst loading times ever. They're like over a minute. With the Switch version, I've seen some timing tests, and they're about 10, 15 seconds shorter.
Yeah, you get...
But it's still really long.
That's... Really?
Yeah, they're still
only
like 50,
shaved
55 seconds.
that amount. Solid state media is supposed to be faster, people. Come on. But you would think that Warner's... production house would have better quality control. I'm not sure where this disk case came from,
Yeah.
but it's on Reddit, and I haven't actually looked up to see where this guy
Yeah, but
claims he
Warner's
bought it
never
from
said
it.
that's not what the back of the box looks like, so this is a fake box. So
Yeah, they never deny that that was the actual box. They just said, "Oh, that's the incorrect information." So the question is, are they going to correct this before it ships, or are they just going to let this bad information go out to the public and freak people out?
I'm going to
Um,
guess that the initial run is the initial run, and it'll be corrected on any further printings.
Yeah, because okay, so I opened up this Reddit post and it says from this was submitted by Faps into Socks. Okay, uh, he says, so we just got Lego City Undercover today, and I noticed something on the bottom. It requires an internet connection and at least 13 gigabytes of space, even though this is a retail cartridge edition. Just informing you guys in case this is an issue for some. The way he writes that, it makes it sound like this guy works at a game store or a retailer, and this was the shipment they received, or maybe in a warehouse or something like a distribution
Yeah, that would
warehouse,
be my guess.
and he noticed this, and if that's the case, these are ready to go to stores. These are ready for consumers to buy, and they have bad information on this. Means that the Warner Brothers quality control, manufacturing quality control, and the art director, the marketing art director that in charge of making the box art with all of these specific required fields on them, totally screwed the pooch and missed this obvious misinformation. And yeah, this is all on Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Matthew, maybe I've got my definitions wrong, but if it doesn't have a moving parts, it's solid state, right? Isn't that what solid
Yes,
state means?
yeah, solid state means it doesn't have moving parts.
So faster than
Huh.
disk, but slower than SSD. Well, I mean, there's no solid state drive on it. It's just memory. I don't
Yeah,
think it actually has. I forget what the teardown said, but nah, well, whatever. It's Lego City Undercover is still damn slow to load, whether you've got it off of off of a card or on the system itself. Uh,
yeah, but
it's a
solid
fun
state is
game,
all
and luckily you're not
the
loading too
NES.
much. But man, did that sucker take a while to
Yeah,
load.
the NES, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the Nintendo 64, the Atari Jaguar, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Sega Game Gear. All of these are solid state cartridges
Right.
because they don't have moving parts. The
Right.
PSP was not a solid state media because it was an
The
optical
UMD
disc
disc, yeah.
that had to spin and be
Right.
read with a laser. But yeah, all cartridges are solid state media in just as your SD card is.
So yeah. Okay, so that is the show for the evening. I hope you enjoyed this hour retrospective into the discography of Nicki Minaj and the other things we talked about. So I suppose I hope everyone enjoyed April Fool's Day, and a big middle finger to anyone who released their April Fool's Day jokes on March 31st. I know some
Yeah,
people really don't like April Fool's Day, but I think we can all agree that releasing an April Fool's Day joke the day before April Fool's Day to really try to trick people, that's just wrong, man.
yeah, it's like they released it on March 31st so that they can wake up on April Fools and say, "Ha ha, that post yesterday was all fake." It's like
Yeah, no,
seriously.
no, no, no. I saw some stuff that was actually published in their local time on the 31st. I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. That's
Yeah,
cheating.
yeah,
That's not an April Fool's Day joke. That's a joke on March 31st. Anyway,
yeah.
um, if you want to see an April Fool's Day joke I did years ago, I tweeted about it. Oh, you expected twerking? I'm terrible at twerking. my twerk muscles need work. Um, I did an April Fool's Day joke years ago. I tweeted about it earlier today. It's called an April Fool's Day, in which I uh, get the idea of scaring someone with a game full of bugs. And I bought worms and crickets to stuff in a game case, and
Oh yeah,
it's
I
a fun
remember
video.
that one.
Remember that
I
one?
remember that one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was
That's
good. I like that.
that's one of the old ones.
Yeah.
That's the sound is terrible and the video is terrible. So, but I think I think it turned out pretty funny. Uh, I would like to do more April Fool's Day jokes. It's just I never remember it's April Fool's Day until April Fool's Day. I'm like, oh well, too late
I
to
just don't
come up
have the
with anything
patience
now.
to plan anything.
Yeah.
There was one year where I did a series of Facebook posts, mostly political things, because April is right smack in the middle of Oklahoma's legislative session, and so a lot of politics on my mind, and basically my series of posts was just me talking about my conversion from libertarianism to hardcore republicanism, and and
I bet the reaction to that was lovely.
yeah, I had a lot of fun comments from people who didn't quite get the joke until like the
Mm,
third or fourth post, but it was good.
yeah. Um, I had a video last week looking at the third party games announced and released and announced on Switch so far. And one of my more popular videos of recent, it has over 5,000 views, which is peanuts by the standards of people much more popular than I, but that's pretty good for me. Although I do have over 10,000 subscribers, so it's like, what do you folks really want to watch? you know, it's, most of my videos get a few hundred views, so it's like really less than 5% of the people who watch my videos or are subscribed to my channel watch my videos. I've always wondered, it's like, what is it exactly you guys want from me? Maybe it's Let's Plays, and it's just not what I do.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Like, I don't have that many subscribers. I have like
Mhm.
12, maybe 18, I forget. But it's like I really wanted to start a YouTube channel, but it's like I have no idea what I would do. I don't have the patience to do Let's Plays, and and I'm just like, well, maybe some sketch comedy, but it's like I don't have people to help me with sketch comedy, like other people to be in the videos and that sort of stuff. It's just like, what in the world would I do? Just Facebook rant or video rants like Jim Sterling, but it's like I don't have the patience to cut all the footage and images and all that into it, and it's like
Editing is
yes, it is, especially when your editing software is crap.
yeah.
I use OpenShot because I use Linux, and we're kind of limited on video editing software, and so I use a software called OpenShot.
Hmm. Whoop! Did we lose you, Zachary? Well, Laxter says, "Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
You just cut out
So,
for about 10 seconds.
oh yeah,
You
but
used
but I was but I was trying to make a trailer for a video game that I made, and I just kept having so many problems. And at one point, I don't know what I did, but all but the top track disappeared from my track view. And I couldn't figure out how to get them all back. I eventually figured out that if I move the top track down one
Mhm.
track at a time, all the other tracks would show up once it moved below it. But if I moved it back up, any tracks below it would disappear again. And then I had at one point a problem where a phantom audio track was was on there, and so it's like at the trailer was exactly 1 minute long, but it went on for another 45 seconds with a blank white screen and a phantom audio track. for that 45 seconds, and it took me forever to figure out how to get rid of that phantom audio track, and drove me nuts.
Well, Laxter says, so that means you've tried? I suppose you're referring to twerking? Yeah, multiple times. I'm embarrassingly bad at it. I mean, it's like my entire hip structure isn't built for twerking. Oh well, c'est la vie, you know. Let's see. 13U Cube asks, "What's your idea for the 24-hour game marathon that you said?" Oh, so I joked on Twitter that I said I have a good idea for a game to play on the Extra Life Charity Marathon next November, but I'll probably forget what it is by then. Kelly, if you're watching, don't look up what this game is, because if you come over again next time, it's one I'd rather you didn't know much about. It's called Deception 4. It's basically a game where you set up traps, silly traps for people. People are invading your space and you set up traps.
Yeah.
It looks, I have no idea how good it is. I've never played anything in the series, but it looks funny. So I thought it might be a fun one to just play on the stream.
Yeah, I wanted to do that charity stream, and my idea is just use it as not just a tool to raise money for charity, but also as a way to promote developers in Oklahoma. And so my entire 24 hours would just be me playing games made by Oklahoma-based developers. And there's plenty of games. I could get a full 24 hours out of it, and I'm sure these developers would love to have their games featured on there. So
yeah. For anyone who's wondering, because we're having some debates on editing in the or discussions on editing in the chat, the recent video I did, which is it's 22 minutes long. My original script was close. I timed it at about 30, so I took a lot of detail out of that. You think I go on and on? It was longer. So a lot of the people in the comments are like, "You didn't mention this." I'm like, I originally did, yeah.
Mistakes. I watched it after you annotated a few corrections in there.
Yeah, I made a couple boo-boos. One boo-boo, the big boo-boo was Starbreeze Studios. I did not notice until after I'd published the video that Starbreeze Studios, I had named it as one of the companies on the list that had not yet released or announced a game. Turns out it's actually the developer of the Square Enix published Project Octopath Traveler, which I do talk about in the video because Square Enix is also on the list. How did you miss that, Andrew? Well, there was never a formal press release on that. When I looked up Starbreeze Studios, because it wasn't a name that was sticking out to me, although I was like, oh yeah, Bravely Default, right, and 3D Game Heroes, or 3D Game Heroes, whatever it's called. That Project Octopath Traveler is not on Starbreeze's site. It's not on Square Enix's site. It's not on Starbreeze or Square Enix's wiki page. If you go to the wiki page, that is a list of Switch games. It lists both the publisher and developer of Project Octopath Traveler, both as Square Enix. So that's how I missed it. Now, there were plenty of outlets, the IGN's, Polygons, the Eurogamers of the world did actually report after the January presentation that Silicon Studio was, I'm sorry, not Starbreeze, Silicon Studio was developing that game. I just completely forgot about it. And when I was researching the companies, that information didn't come out because it wasn't published on their pages. Oh well. But someone pointed it out to me like within 10 minutes or something of the video going live, and I looked it up and went, oops. Another thing I got wrong was I didn't get it wrong, I just didn't mention it, and it probably would have been something I mentioned, is that Grasshopper, Suda51 studio, is a subsidiary of Gung Ho, which does the Puzzle and Dragons games. That's probably something I would have mentioned in the video if I had noted, and that one's just on me just missing, because it clearly says, it lists their subsidiaries on their sites, and I just missed that one. I also very clumsily worded that Violent Ken and Evil Ryu, the new characters in Ultra Street Fighter 2, are not new so much as they've appeared in previous games. But what I say is they've appeared in previous Street Fighter games. That's true for Evil Ryu, not true for Violent Ken. Violent Ken's previous appearance was in SNK versus Capcom. Which includes a lot of Street Fighter characters, but it's not a Street Fighter character game. So I do get a couple things incorrect. I corrected them as best I could with annotations and notes in the video description, but that's a lot
what can
of
you do?
Yeah, you're gonna get. Yeah. I have no editor, and I'm working alone, so I'm gonna screw something up. I'm gonna miss stuff. I spent about a week and a half or so researching, writing that video, and then another week recording. Spent an hour recording it, and then about a week editing it. 4 days editing it because I don't have a ton of editing time because I work. But I originally had planned to make the on-screen text a little bit more complicated than what it eventually ended up, but one, I felt it ended up being a little bit too cluttered. I'm the kind of guy who, if I see a CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever, for me, there's just too much crap all over the screen with the ticker on the bottom and the thing on the side, and I'm like, just do the news. I don't like all that stuff, so I'm a little bit more minimalist styled. Plus, it would have taken even longer. So, but anyway, if you want to watch that video, it's called I don't know, what did I call it? It's called Third-Party Games on Nintendo Switch: An In-Depth Look. It really pissed off about 5 people who said some really mean things to me. I'm still trying to figure out why documenting what games have released and been announced by a specific list of companies so far is so aggravating to a very small handful of people. But oh man, I really pissed some people off with that video. Like, you're a liar and you hate Nintendo and you're always negative and you're a liar. I'm like, well, I did get the Starbreeze Studio thing wrong. But there you go.
Just some people you just can't please, and they
yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of crazy people out there that get super defensive over the dumbest things, and it's like, seriously, people. Nintendo themselves have announced only like 36 games that are coming out sometime in the next 3 years. So
yeah. Oh, some of the conversations I had were just bizarre. People are like, "Oh yeah, well, what about Legend of Zelda exclusive?" I'm like, okay, number one, it's not exclusive because it's also on the Wii U, but number two, it's a first-party game. This video is about third parties, a specific group of third parties. I mean, it's in the title of the video. And they're like, well, what about Beyond Good and Evil 2? Confirmed exclusive for Switch. I'm like, that's a rumor. It's a cool rumor, and I hope it's true, but that's a rumor. It's like, oh, well, Bethesda promised 2 days after the Switch was announced that it was bringing Doom to... No, it didn't. It wouldn't confirm it was bringing Skyrim to the Switch for months, and that damn thing was actually in the original announcement. No, they didn't announce Doom 2 days after the October reveal. And I get, oh man, and some people just won't let that stuff go, and I'm the kind of the guy who will sit there and will just respond literally to every single sentence and say, nope, here's what the actual thing. And my response is like these huge long paragraphs which are literally debunking every single sentence that they write because they're all genuinely wrong. Which is so weird. I did actually have to eventually ban one person though, but I hate doing that. But
yeah, that always sucks.
Yeah. We're having a bit of a discussion in the chat over how difficult it is, or rather, difficult and time-consuming it is to edit a Let's Play, and that really depends on how you do a Let's Play. I mean, there
Yeah.
are people out there who just
Play the game,
just play the game and put that raw footage right on up there. But there are a lot of other people who research the game, play it before they record it, practice it so they can play it well and get a sense of where they want to go, how they want to play, what they want to talk about. There are some who will record live. There are some who will record the voiceover and post. There are some who will, if they trip over their words, they will actually kill the take and back up to a previous save and try it again. There's a lot of editing and sound balancing that can go into. Sometimes you don't want to just do the complete raw footage thing. You want to edit it into, because a lot of gaming can be very repetitious. Depending on what game now, and like a side,
really
like in Metal Slug 3 or something, I don't know why I picked 3, but in the Metal Slug games, those are probably not something you want to cut individual pieces, because you'd be cutting stuff out of a level.
Yeah, but say like a game like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, where you're grinding in order to beat the boss, you're going to cut out that 3 hours of grinding and just get straight to, I've gone through the dungeon, now I'm at the boss. That's all you want. You don't want to, I've gone through the dungeon, now I'm going to grind for 3 hours.
I saw a very well done video series from, I think his name is Chugga Conroy, who did a Let's Play of Xenoblade Chronicles, which I had taken a couple year hiatus from. I'd played about 30 hours and then I got busy with something else. And I was like, I want to get back into this game, but I don't want to restart it. So I looked up a Let's Play to refamiliarize myself with where the hell I was and what I was doing. And this guy did a really nice job with showing everything off in a easily understandable and digestible manner, explaining everything in an interesting way. And like you just said, he cut out all of the grinding aspects. But you still got a very good sense of place and story and character and the different events and quests and stuff. I thought and that took a lot of work, because he also does a lot of on-screen overlays that, in that series anyway, that detail which quest he's on, where it can be found, what the specific time of day conditions, all kinds of. So he has a lot of different title cards that he edits into the video, and that is a lot of really time-consuming work. Basically, one of my big things about Let's Play is I'm a very, as most of you know, I'm not a multiplayer gamer. I'm a single-player gamer, and that extends to just kind of how I like to play games. Gaming time is me time. I like doing the extra life thing, but I don't really want to perform while I'm playing a video game. In a lot of ways, I don't want to do a Let's Play, because that's just not how I want to play the game. I just want to play Breath of the Wild and let it wash over me and enjoy it,
Yeah, see, for me, I like to play for enjoyment. I'm like you, and
but again, that depends on what kind of a Let's Play you do and your style. So it's going to vary.
And I think for me, it would have to be specific games that I'm Let's Playing. It's just like I'm not going to Let's Play every single game that I play, because frankly, I suck at a lot of games, and that doesn't make for a good Let's Play. And even though I enjoy that game, it's just I don't play it in a way that I don't think people would find interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And so it's like I would have to find a game that I'm pretty decent at or good at, to a game that I would be able to entertain someone while I play, not just with how I'm playing, but also with voiceover work, like talking while I'm playing.
Yeah, that's one of my talking while playing a video game is hard.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, and it's like I started recording some footage for Minecraft, and what I wanted to do was play the game and get through the game and eventually cut it all down and turn it into kind of a story. So I'm just recording the raw footage, and eventually I was going to write a script to go along with it, where it's basically a narration of the game based on the concept of some, you wake up, I wake up on this island or wherever I wake up, and so I'm narrating my journal as I'm playing, and then it's like if I die, it's like I wake up and I'm here, and it's like you wake up without any memory of anything that goes on, kind of thing, and so it's like you see all this stuff being constructed, and you're like, I could really use this, and it's like kind of, and then eventually you catch on to what's actually happening and stuff. It's just like trying to make a story around what Minecraft is, but I never got around to finishing that because I was having a hard time finding places that I wanted to do to be there, to go to in the video, because I have the worst luck in that random world generation ever. It's like the last 10 worlds I've ever generated have been island chains, and I am sick to death of island chains. And it's like I want to be in the center of a giant continent that has like 5 different biomes on it at least. Yeah. I don't want to be on another freaking island chain.
Nice. So the other thing about Let's Plays for me is I don't know exactly what I could add to the Let's Play oeuvre of YouTube that would be unique or my own or different or interesting. I don't know what I could do with a Let's Play that would be that would attract an audience, that would be interesting to anybody. Another dude talking over a video game. Got plenty of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Carl King says I should get voiceover work. I agree. I should. So if anyone has any leads, or if you want me to record something for your video game or something, hey, drop me a note. I've done a voiceover for an indie game called Shapes of Gray, and that was fun, even though I had no idea what I was talking about. But yeah, I did a lot of plays when I was like in high school and college. And I've always loved performing, which you can probably tell from my YouTube videos and singing and stuff. Love performing. Love doing. So I would find voice work just a dream. I love that. But I don't have an agent. I don't actually live in an area that does a lot of voice work. A lot of it's actually done in Texas for some reason. Plenty up in LA, but
yeah.
Which is why a lot of times why you have the same stable of voice actors. It's because there are very few places that do most of the voice recording, and they all live in that area. So that's a lot of it. But hey, I mean, if any of you want to get in touch with me or get me in touch with someone who does something like that.
So why doesn't anybody ever want me to do the voiceovers? Do I just not have that kind of a voice? No, I listen to my voice after recording, and I'm like, do I really sound like that?
I actually don't have that problem. I listen to my voice. I'm like, yeah, that's what I sound like. I hear a lot of people saying like, oh my God, I just listened to a recording of. Maybe it's just because I've done so much vocal work over the years. I mean, I've been singing since I was young and listening to recordings of myself sing. Maybe I'm just used to what I actually sound like. So
see, my problem is that I feel like I talk lower than I actually do, and so when I listen to myself, I'm a higher pitch than what I think I actually am, and it really strikes me as it makes me self-conscious about doing any kind of voiceover stuff.
Well, I mean, I listen to myself and I'm like, man, I sound amazing. It's why it's probably why YouTube keeps recommending all my videos because I'm constantly watching my own stuff, going, "Oh man, this is brilliant."
Yeah.
So,
Although my wife does say that I sing really well, and I've heard that from other people too. So
you sing in any groups or anything like that?
no. I just sing goofy camp songs to my kids, and I occasionally sing in the choir at church and
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
But yeah,
Church hymnals and stuff like that is just
yeah,
classic chord structure stuff. I'll when I'm out in Kentucky visiting my mom, I'll go to church with them on Sundays, and sometimes I'll find myself distracted by the hymnal, because the way that service works is it's broken up into, now we're gonna do the introduction, and now we're gonna sing, and now we're gonna do a prayer thing, and now we're gonna sing, and now we're gonna have the word, the message, the big meat of the
sermon.
sermon thing, and now we're gonna sing. So so we'll stand up and flip to page 293, and I'll go, oh, okay, and I'll end up just kind of being, I'll start doing chord structure analysis on the song, and I'm like, this is a really good circle of fifths tune. If you did that, and I'll start like trying to arrange a barbershop arrangement of a song I sing, and it's like, Andrew, pay attention. I'm like, oh yeah. Even my mom caught me once. I had like a scrap piece of paper and the pencil that you use to write on the, yeah, if you're new here, fill out the card thingy and put it in the donation plate, and we'll send you email or something. And I started jotting down chord notes on a piece of paper because I was like, I think it was Emmanuel or something like that. I'm like, wow, that's just a good classic chord structure. And I started writing it down, started messing with stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing, you dork? Stop it. We got a music dork here. Music dork. Everyone look at the music dork.
Yeah.
So.
See, when I sing,
Yes, barbershop quartets. Yeah.
Yeah. When I sing it, like if I'm in the choir, I'll sing the bass line, and because usually that's what people need, and I'm capable of singing bass, so that's what I do. But if I'm just singing in the congregation, I'll just sing the melody and drop it an octave, and and that works for me, because I hate, because if I'm in the congregation and I just can't concentrate on the bass line because everybody else around me is singing the melody line, and I just can't. So I'm just like, whatever, melody, drop an octave, I'm okay.
Well, when I'm there and singing along, a lot of times, what you'll hear mostly is you'll hear the melody, and you'll hear the melody an octave low from a lot of the men in the congregation, or congregation is the people sitting there,
sitting in the audience.
Okay. And a lot of times for some, you'll hear some musicians actually singing the bass. They'll be singing primarily the roots and the fifths. So a lot of times I'm naturally inclined to sing bass too, but I'll sing like the baritone, the filler notes. Just to add that stuff in, because because literally no one else is, which is funny when you get people standing around you who are actually open to listening to other voices. Some people just hear a wall of sound and they can't pick out individual things, but some people will hear me singing something different. They'll be like, what are you singing? That's not how hallelujah whatever goes. I mean, it fits somehow, but what is that? If you ever want to really confuse a small child, learn the baritone part to a Christmas carol, like Jingle Bells or something, and sing it at them. You will get 8-year-old children to look at you like you are genuinely stupid. I mean, they'll be like, how do you not know Jingle Bells? That's not how it goes. Oh, it's so funny. 13 UQ, we need more barbershop vids. I agree, but you're probably not going to get them out of me, because while I'm a okay bass, I'm really terrible at the other three parts.
Yeah. See, it's like, but singing in church, I do try to sing the bass part every now and then, especially like if the chorus is a 2-part chorus, like where you've got the alto and tenor line, and then is it alto and tenor, and then bass and or no, it's tenor and bass, and then alto and soprano.
Usually
Yeah, soprano.
yeah.
Yeah, and so the alto and soprano singing one line, and then the tenor and bass are singing the other one. I'll go for the bass line on that, just because that's what it's meant for. But the other time, it's just they're in the congregation. There's just like a lot of the hymns will just be one note along, and then it'll drop like another note, and then just and while the melody's all like woo, 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 but and so
baritone is the part that sings around the melody, above and below. Yeah. Bass is the harmonizing part below the melody line. Tenor is the harmonizing part above the melody line. Baritone goes around, which is why it sounds really weird. I never hear anyone try to sing the higher harmony parts, and I never, unless the song is like 6 verses and I'm getting bored, then I'll try and switch to the high melody line, just out of boredom. But I try not to do it too much because I don't have a great upper range. Even my falsetto is pretty limited. I mean, I've got a pretty decent falsetto from about like F to maybe C.
So you're not you can't get to Freddie Mercury levels, or
I can squeak out fairly high, but where I really struggle is the mid-range stuff, like from middle C to F. I got nothing there, and my head voice is kind of like that, and my falsetto is it's too high for head voice and too low for falsetto for me. So from about middle C to F, I've got almost nothing.
See, I have that problem on the alto line. If I get up in there to F on the alto line on the bar, my voice cracks if I try to hit those notes, and so that's why I have to drop things an octave, because there's no way I can sing that high. So
yeah, but I can do some of the higher tenor stuff. Let me kind of up there a little bit, and I have not warmed up at all, so I apologize for that. But I can sing up in that range, but when you're let me try and actually pitch this correctly. Where the hell is my pitch pipe? Let me try and think of something. So when it's sleepy time down south, that's just really weak and airy. That's C to E flat. And I just don't have that. I mean, even the melody part, which is right at middle C, but when it's sleepy time down south, I'm like, I can't really sing it melodically. It's supposed to be when it's sleepy time. I'm like, I just have to kind of punch it to when it's sleepy time to. It's like that's not.
We're starting to get requests in the chat here, so.
But why am I? Oh. But bass, when it's sleepy time down south, it dropped the entire octave. But then you have weird baritone stuff, which is when it's sleepy time down. No, that's bass. When it's sleepy time down south. That's what the baritone is, and you're like, what? It sounds so weird by itself, but baritone is the glue that holds everything together. And baritones always get the really weird, the really cool, like 6/5 swipes and stuff like that. That really draws the ear. Like a gingham gown. In a gingham gown, she stole my heart away. If. In a gingham gown, she stole, and baritone, she stole my heart. It steps on, does a bada. Some great stuff. But anyway, so very, very quick barbershop tangent.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been
Anyway,
tangenting for about 45 minutes now.
So I guess we should wrap it up because I need to eat dinner. You probably need to pay the actors and go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear you guys explain the things I hear in your words. Glad you think so.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of describing a podcast.
Yeah. So we got video. And whoever called me handsome or good looking or something along those lines earlier, especially with this hair, I do appreciate that. Anyway, so that's Molehill Mountain, the Nicki Minaj edition, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Even though we didn't talk about Miss Minaj as much as we all would have liked, I'm sure. Anyway, Andrew Eisen here. Check out my YouTube channel. Eisen is how you spell the last name. Check out my recent in-depth look at third parties on Switch, because I worked hard on that video, even though I made a couple mistakes, but they're annotated, so anyway, hope you enjoy that. Probably, I'm hoping to have a Q and Andrew video tomorrow because someone asked me a really cool question. It's something along the lines of, what if Nintendo went third party? You know, what if Nintendo did a Sega and just got out of hardware and went third party? So I think I'll be making a video about that tomorrow. I'm gonna try anyway. So follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen. I say random silly things there. If you enjoy my sense of humor, then Twitter is a pretty good place to to enjoy small chunks of it. And maybe that's the best way to experience my humor: sporadic but small chunks. So also Facebook page is oh, you love the one where I do pull-ups on the neighbor's stairs? Yeah, that was a year ago. They still never caught me. I've since have a pull-up bar, which is in my bathroom doorway, so I do a few pull-ups every time I go to the bathroom.
One of these things.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have this in my office because I'm trying to get into exercising more because I'm fat. And so I've got that, and then I've got some free weights.
Nice. Oh, I was at the gym the other night and well this morning too, but whatever. Anyway, one of the previous nights I was at the gym. There was this woman. I was on a shoulder press machine nearby. She was sitting on a bench in front of the mirror, doing her curls, and she had her earbuds in, which meant that she had no idea how loud she was actually singing. Or she did not. But she's sitting there curling. It's raining, man. Hallelujah. It's rain. She wasn't actually singing that, but I forget what she was saying. But she was over there curling for like 30 minutes straight. I'm like, I'm not messing with that woman. She could probably kick my ass. So I'm not going to tell her to be quiet. She's been curling for 30 minutes straight. I'm not. Nope. She's fine. She's doing her thing. She's fine. Anyway, so again, tangent. Yep. In conclusion, pull-ups are hard. Although I do have to take that sucker down because I can't close the bathroom door. Whenever I have company, I have to take it down because it can't close the bathroom door with it in there. But anyway, are they ever going to restock the Classic Edition? No.
Probably not.
No, they're just going straight to the Super NES Classic Edition next fall. Hopefully, because I still know people who really want to buy it. Anyway, Zachary, plug away.
Yeah. All right. First up, a quick correction. A couple podcasts ago, I misspoke on who gave me Stardew Valley. It was Infofile. Thank you, Infofile, for the game. I enjoyed it, even though I've only managed to play 3 hours. It's the 3 hours I've played has been excellent, so I'm looking forward to playing more of it. You
milk a cow in that game. It's very unrealistic because you can't rape the cow or something. There are no rape. Stardew Valley needs rape racks.
Yeah.
Patch that in.
Although somebody did try to patch in relationships with children,
yes, they did.
That was rejected by the community.
Nude patch? Tell me there's a nude patch.
but no, so you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, where I talk about politics, gaming, and other things. I'm sure there's other topics out there, but that's what I talk about most of the time. And if you're interested in my game development work, check out DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. For the next 2 weeks, there's itch.io is putting on a 1-bit clicker jam, which is you make a game that uses only black and white color scheme, and the only user interface, the only controls you can use are left click, right click, middle click, and scroll wheel, or something equivalent to that. So like if you're making a mobile game, just single tap and scroll. But so that's something that I'm working on right now. I'm back in November, I was working on a game I called an abstract RPG, and it in turn I ended up turning it into something that resembled a match 3 game, and I was not enjoying that, so I decided to scrap that gameplay, and I'm going to be doing something completely different, using the same idea of making a abstract styled RPG during this 1-bit clicker jam. So keep an eye out on updates for that, and hopefully I'll have a cool game after the end of these 2 weeks. And then if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. So there you go.
Yeah. Trying to find.
Oh, and by the way, April Fool's on the whole family thing.
You got me. I'm trying to hold on, Ross Hanson. Oh, there it is. So trying to, for anyone who wanted some extra barber shopping, here's I'm putting it in the chat. Here's a link to a video someone shot of me singing with a quartet, like was it 7 years ago, singing an arrangement of the first Noel that we wrote like literally 3 days before. Our substitute tenor, Ross Hanson, who was singing with us at the time, because I don't know where our tenor was. He was sick or on vacation or something. But he wrote a arrangement of the first Noel, which was kind of cool. And
yeah.
So you can criticize us for not performing much, but we got the arrangement 3 days ago, and we were just trying to remember it. So, but anyway, there's some fun singing for you if you want to see me sing something in a group where I'm a lot better at where I don't have to sing the other parts. If you want to see me try and butcher an actual barbershop arrangement, you can check out my midlife crisis celebration spectacular. I do there's a background song in there that I sing all 4 parts to. That's probably the most notable one. So there you go. Okay, so thanks for hanging out with us on this foolish day in April. We really appreciate it, and we hope you'll join us again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.